Good evening. This is my video for TE 188, a portal class, General Studies. Now, this class really is focused on somewhat on writing, on video, on movies. My intention is to have a lot of Zoom sessions. Now I'm going to be doing some where I talk to you like this, but I like the ones interactive. So we as a class meet and we talk to each other. I don't have this class as synchronous. In other words, I'm not going to meet during the meeting times, but I will meet in the evening with you. I've got down a requirement for 3 major Zoom meetings where we'll have discussions. But I think as freshmen or as new students or anybody just taking this class, my focus is to have you explore some of your interests and to do quite a bit of self-reflection. Now, what are you reflecting on? I'm going to begin this class with a very basic concept, and that is using, and it's actually in your syllabus right near the end. I have a rather strange looking diagram here, which I will simplify for you, but it talks about the hero's journey. And a gentleman by the name of Dr. Joseph Campbell studied mythology, and he studied all the stories, and this is really what this class is about, stories. The stories about yourself, stories about others, stories about famous people. Stories are what bind us together as a civilization. I mean, gossip itself is always an interesting story. What happened then and what happened next, or stories that inspire us, or stories that terrify us. You know, Stephen King, there's always a great story there. You know, Pennywise, the clown, just the thought of that clown looking out from under the curb, something in the sewer grabbing you and dragging you down, was horrible. You know, the old spooks under the bed, or ghost stories, or dangerous situations like being in a war, facing death, facing destruction. Stories about being ill, stories about growing old, stories about growing up. All these things bind us together. And my thought in this class is I like movies because movies have to have a good story in order to bind them together. Whether you watch The Notebook, I'm not crazy about it, but you know, I like science fiction movies myself, and I'm going to be doing a little survey because I want to find out what you like to watch. And movies are very, very good because they engage us, and if they're good movies, they do things more than just entertain us. They make us think about decision making. We don't read as much as we used to. You know, if I started this class and said we're going to read 10 novels, you'd probably go, oh my gosh, I don't think I want to stay in this class. I can't read that much. People don't read like they used to. Now, I worship people that read. I like to read. But I not only like to read, I like to watch movies. So it's not just entertainment. It's not mindless entertainment. It's actually getting engaged. That's why all these games that kids play online, and certainly you do, they have a storyline of some sort. Maybe you're with a group of people and call, oh gosh, what is it? Those combat, you know, call to duty or something like that. Whatever it is, I used to play the ones that had zombies and ghouls in them and stuff. But, you know, that's a long time ago, and they were primitive by what you count now. But I remember the video games were spooky. I mean, you actually got nervous. Things would jump up and get you. But again, back to stories. So what I want to do in this class is, first of all, I want you to kind of get down the pattern of what the hero's life is. I'll do that in another video. I'm not going to do it here, but I'm going to be talking about this. And whether it's, and when I say stories, it could be fictional, it can be real life. Okay, it can be a story of somebody that was in Vietnam. It could be somebody that was in Iraq in the war. It could be somebody who was injured and had to make a very brave recovery. It could be they didn't make it. Right now we're in COVID. And right now I've been thinking stories like Edgar Allan Poe, where there's a plague going around. We're all kind of scared of it. We don't know where it is. It's invisible. Some people wear masks, some don't wear a mask. Some people don't wear a mask and they get COVID. Some people just seem to get by and nothing bothers them. But there's always some kind of danger, which makes it very real to individuals. So whatever that story is, I want you to start out. Your first assignment is to tell your story. What is your story? And you may say, well, I grew up on a farm and I live in Nebraska and it's pretty dull. It's not exciting. I didn't have any dangerous situations. But I don't buy that. I believe every human being has a story worthy of telling. And we have to respect that. I don't care if it's somebody that taught school for 50 years, never got married. Come on, it wasn't nothing to their life. It wasn't a Seinfeld show. There was always something important in there going on. There may have been situations where there may have been something very intense happen, something good or bad, and I always think interesting stories people like to hear, like the tornadoes they had up in northern Nebraska when those twin tornadoes hit the town of, starts with a P, I can't quite remember, Pilsner or something like that. But I remember that picture of those two tornadoes. I thought, how frightening to have two monster tornadoes coming at you simultaneously. So there are all kinds of stories in our lives, and not only is it important for you to be able to think about and tell those stories, but it's important that when we deal with others, we respect. He said, oh, you told a story of something quite extraordinary that I really want to know about. I happen to like ghost stories. I think they're kind of cool, whether you believe in them or not. I don't like stories where people are hurt and violently things are done, or, but life has all kinds of obstacles in it. For my purpose, I like to have things that are more in the science fiction range or more in the paranormal range, kind of interesting. I like space, anything with space, fictional or non-fictional, because space is a very dangerous place to go. So I like history too. Give you a little bit about myself. I love history. I love poetry, writing. I like stories. I've written stories, published a few poems. I like to think that I'm a very young person in terms of my perception of the world. I like to think about you right now, that if you're 19 to 23, what's going on? What do you think about everything going on in the world? It could be politics. It could be choices one makes. It could be about growing up and being different in some way from other people. It could be that I've had really good stories. If people want to share, you don't have to share anything you don't want to share. You have a right to your privacy. But I've had people share stories about growing up being gay. I've had people talk about having to overcome a difficult family situation, things that they're willing to share. And I always preface this, that if you have something you'd like to tell, but you don't want it for the whole class, you can share it with me if you want. I like writing. Writing is just telling a story and writing it down. Now, we do have an option. In this class, you can videotape on the discussion. So you could tell about yourself. The first little exercise is going to be telling a little bit about your life story. And good things, bad things, whatever you want to share. We're not here to make confessions of things. I had a guy years ago that he did something really bad when he was about 10 years old. Now, he didn't tell me until he was drunk one night and he's in his 20s. I was a little older than him. And he told me that in Fairfield, Iowa, he went to a construction site and he started up a bulldozer and he damaged a lot of machines. And everybody was looking for the culprit, and they never found out it was him. He never told anybody, he kept it secret. And it turned out he did like $50,000 worth of damage. I think he drove a bulldozer over a truck and some other stuff. So he did a lot of damage. And he finally confessed it to me many years later. Well, I didn't turn him in. I didn't figure it mattered. But I've, interesting story, somebody did something wonderful or saw. I remember one where a guy told me that he went out to fish or hunt and he was near a lake. And I only got the story because he had told it to his son in secret. And his son, when he got older, told his mother. And the story was that he went out to a lake not far from Kearney, Nebraska. And early in the morning, he was either hunting or fishing. And he encountered a spacecraft taking on water from a lake or a pond or something. And that he observed it very clearly and saw the beings and saw the whole thing. And he never told a soul for years. And I tend to believe this story because I said, why would a guy go to such trouble to keep it secret? Maybe he saw something. Maybe there's something going on. There's been some sightings. The U.S. military has admitted now that they have located on their radar, their sensors, they've located unusual spacecraft doing extraordinary things. And there's been several of these films and they've been confirmed, which for a long time people said, oh, there's no flying saucers, that can't be. And so now it makes me very suspicious. Maybe there's something going on and we just trying to pretend we don't see them, or people see them, they just don't want to admit to it because it's so controversial. But that's an interesting story, you see, just like ghost stories. I mean, could they have just been seeing things and maybe they were half asleep and thought something happened? Who knows? But that's what makes life worth getting up every day, is you hear stories, good stories too. People doing things to help others in their community. People showing wonderful acts of mercy. You see them a lot on TV. They'll say so-and-so saved a baby from drowning or pulled a man from a burning car, or someone has made a great medical discovery. Maybe they're going to cure COVID. All kinds of stories like that right now with the COVID infection. So stories are what make our life worth living. Stories from the old past, our grandparents, stories about the future, what might be. I've been amazed that Elon Musk, very strange name. When I first heard Elon Musk, I thought it was some kind of a perfume or something for women. I said, Elon Musk, that must be like Givenchy or something. I said, no, Elon Musk is a space guy and many other things. And when they were able to get a missile to take off, go into space, and it comes back down and it lands straight up again, I couldn't believe it. All these years they said it couldn't be done, and this guy did it. And I thought, wow, NASA's not that good anymore. Okay, so what do I want in this first one? I just wanted to tell you a little bit of background on myself. And I'll mention further, I'm an ESL teacher. I have a background in writing. I have a master's in literature. I have a doctorate in education and English as a second language. I work a lot with people from diversity, and I work with people that are going to be teachers for students who do not speak English as a first language. And I want to remind you, if you're interested in that area, it is a minor or an endorsement that once you get your main endorsement, like being an elementary teacher, I can get you the ESL endorsement, which means you have some knowledge and specialty in expertise in dealing with kids that don't speak English as a first language. And if you're going to be a teacher, that's really quite useful because Many schools like to have people that also have the ESL endorsement. It's like some people get a special education endorsement because they want to be more valuable so that you can teach two things in school. The ESL endorsement is not as difficult. It's only 18 hours, so it makes it a little easier for you. Okay, other things. I will be doing a video this week explaining the hero's journey, but I just wanted to put this up to let you know a little bit about our homework. We're going to have some Zoom conferences that are for 50 points each where we have to pony up, we have to do things, and that'll be 3 times during the semester. You'll have a final essay, 1,000 words. I do believe you have to write at some point. We're going to be talking, you're going to do a presentation on a film of your preference, and then we're going to have weekly discussions, which you can do video. So you don't have to write on everything in the class. This is not a writing intensive class. And you've got the, my goal is that the general studies, and I'd like to tweak your imagination and get you to think about things. I also encourage you to get in groups and watch videos. Now, I know most of you have access to Netflix, so you're not really hurting there. In addition, you know, I said films, but even series that you may want to watch on for instance, I like Mr. Robot. I love that whole series. You got Stranger Things. Also, very interesting, you may look at this up. If you're interested in quirky little science fiction stories, there are little movies, 4 to 20 minutes long, on YouTube under the title of Dust, is like the company, D-U-S-T. And you can watch all kinds of little science fiction clips, for the most part science fiction. And they're really well done. I mean, I'm amazed. They affect me. I mean, they're either upsetting or they're scary or they're fulfilling, but they're like tiny little movies. And you don't have to wait 2 hours. Another one is called Omeletto. It looks like omelet, but it's O-M-E-L-E-T-O. And it's a company or whatever group that presents these. And I watch these things, and they because they're so short, they make many, many of them. And some of them are variations off another science fiction movie like Aliens or Predator or something like that. And YouTube, I watch YouTube constantly because they're just great stuff on there, both documentary stuff and stuff that used to be on the History Channel before the History Channel turned into some weird, you know, the Learning Channel, if you ever watch those, there's no learning on there. They have stuff in there, people, Duck Dynasty. I'm sorry. I don't turn on the Learning Channel to watch Duck Dynasty. It's not my thing. Or the Housewives of Atlanta, et cetera, 90 Day Wonder, 90 Day Fiance. Some of this stuff, I'm sorry, I'm just not into that. However, you may want to look at that and find some value in it in our culture, because all we're talking about is stories and culture. All right, well, I'm going to let it go, and I'm going to be sending you your first assignment. And your first assignment is going to be a videotape of yourself. Or you can write it out. You don't have to be on film. But introduce yourself to the class, and what you're going to do is put it under discussion and introduce yourself, talk a little bit about your life story. Where'd you come from? What are your interests? And tell stories about yourself. Don't just say, oh, I'm majoring in agriculture, elementary education. I grew up, you know, in Donovan, and I went to high school. You know, lighten it up a little bit or excite a little bit. I mean, did you have anything unusual happen? Have you ever seen something that didn't make sense, or had some kind of a tribulation or a painful situation or a wonderful? Did you ever meet a famous person? You know, I don't think I've ever really met a famous person. I always wanted to think I was related to one, but I'm not. I only have one thing. I have a person I went to school with who married the guy that made the movie The Godfather, the original Godfather, which is considered by many the best movie ever made. And this person also is a fashion vice president for Giorgio Armani in Hollywood. So I talked to her on Facebook because I went to school with her. I used to deliver eggs to her mom in her house in this little town in Missouri. And of course, she knows everybody. So on her website or her Facebook page, you know, she's buddies with Leonardo DiCaprio, Cindy Crawford, Helen Mirren, Reese Witherspoon, George Clooney, you name it. And they put clothes on these people. She's the one that does the red carpet. When people go out for their movie premiere, she dresses these people, gets them their clothes, her company. She goes to Italy. I've talked to a couple of movie stars that she's friends with because I said something on her line and the movie star came back and said, well, thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. It was one I had a crush on. I thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe that person actually responded to me. So it was pretty cool, you know, but I don't really know them. I just kind of face in the crowd on Facebook. Okay, well, I'm going to send you your assignment tonight, and I hope this is a little introduction. You may find this rather winding discussion, but that's the kind of person I am. I'm not a lecture guy. I don't lecture things. Take notes. We're going to fill in the blank later. I said, oh, why don't you just kill me? I hate that. Let's have something fun to talk about. So let's be upbeat. And I want to ask you about films that you like. So, and a lot of other things. So I look forward to that survey. That survey is separate from the little discussion they're going to be doing. So thank you. And that'll be our assignment for this week. And this is my video for you this week to get you introduced. And you can always contact me. We can talk on Zoom. We don't have to do emails. And I actually give you my phone number, but if you don't call before 1 o'clock, because of COVID and my condition, I have diabetes, I am not online. I'm not here in the daytime. I show up at night when there's not many people around. And that's how I have to operate because I have members of my family that COVID would be a disaster if I brought it home. And plus for me, myself. So, you know, I'm over 18 years old, believe it or not. Okay, thank you. And I'll talk to you soon.